invocation and the pledge of allegiance to the flag. If you're able, please rise. At this time, I'd like to call on the Reverend and Councilman Robert Jones for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for being able to do Heavenly Father, we ask you to fill this place, fill our hearts with your Holy Spirit. Make decisions that best glorify you. We love you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I'd like to call on Councilman Amber Walker to lead us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 4, the recognitions and presentations. Item 4A is the introduction of new hires, Fox and Burks. Chief Lynn.
I'm trying to make my way up. Good strategic place. Y'all come on up there. As is our tradition, at Barry, we like to bring our new officers when they come on board and introduce them to the public, introduce them to the elected officials. Let them see you, let y'all see them. So I'm going to start with Tiffany because she got here first. This is Officer Tiffany Fox. She came to us as a graduate of South Georgia Technical College Academy over there. She's also has a bachelor's degree from Middle Georgia State University in Business and Finance. She lives in Warner Robins. She landed here with the military with her father in 2002 and been here ever since. In her spare time, she likes to run 7 miles or so before she goes to work. Then she runs marathons and half marathons on her own. So,
Does she run from home to work and then back?
I haven't tried that yet.
she can figure out how to bring the car with her. Did I hit the high five?
You did.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to do this for memory. So, and this young man here is Devontae Burks. Devontae is a recruit. He hasn't been to the academy yet. He has a bachelor's degree from Justice Fort Valley State. Master's in information technology from Walden University. He was corrections officer at Houston Sheriff's Office, wanted to be on the road. He also did some time with the Department of Juvenile Justice at the Macon Youth Detention Center. And he hails from Cuthbert. I guess he just got to Fort Valley and decided he liked the area and stuff. More to follow in a couple of weeks.
Officers Fox and Burks, we want to welcome you to the city of Perry. Thank you for your decision to join the best police force anywhere. And you can quote me on that. From that standpoint, we're very excited to have you with us. We're excited that your youth will help out the team, and you're going to obviously setting a good example. Now, you're going to run 7 miles every day too. You'll try to get there. I might try to walk a couple, but as far as I'm going to go from that standpoint. But we do welcome you to the city of Perry, to the city of Perry Police Force. You're joining a group of esteemed leaders in this city, and I know that you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that you have their backs as they have yours. And we thank you again for the decision that you would make. Welcome to the city of Perry. We look forward to seeing you for many, many years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5, our community partners update. Is there any community partner here who wishes to update council at this time? Thank you. Item 6 are citizens with input. Is there any citizen here who wishes to address council on any topic at this time? Yes, sir. Please rise and state your name and address.
My name is Edward Urbanski, and I live at 602 Stockport Court. I would like to address the council regarding the zoning issue.
Mr. Vansky, if I may, you're welcome to do it at this time. We're going to have a public hearing regarding 2 zoning issues in a few minutes. And at that time, I'll ask for public input, both for and against. and you're welcome to speak at that time, or you're welcome to speak now. If it's just for the zoning, I would ask if it's okay with you to hold your comments until that time.
I will, I just don't want to miss my opportunity.
I'm not gonna let you, I promise. Thank you, Doug, for jumping in there, I like that. Would anyone else like to address council on any topic but the hearings at this time? Thank you. Item 7 is a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide any interested parties with an opportunity to express their views and concerns in accordance with OCGA Section 36-67A-3C. Item 7A, this is a petition for a rezoning and annexation application number R17-03. The applicant of Mulvey Inc. requests rezoning and annexation of property consisting of 107.11 acres from Houston County R-1, the City of Perry R-2, two-family residential district, and C2, general commercial district. The property is located at the corner of Santa Fe Road and Danny Carpenter Drive. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. The request that is before you and is stated here has been revised by the applicant. The applicant is now requesting that the entire parcel be zoned R2 and will be developing only single-family detached residential housing. So the commercial aspect of this has been removed, and the applicant has indicated that he would do single-family homes.
Only as a
Only.
restriction?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I'll go through that in my presentation here. We did, once that revision came in from the applicant, we did revise the staff recommendation based on that modification. In reviewing, just wanted to point out that the city does have and did construct a public sewer line along Danny Carpenter Drive, part of Santa Fe Road and Danny Carpenter Drive, some years ago, initially to serve Mawson Creek Middle School, but also in anticipation that other properties would annex and tie into that property. Did want to point out that there is a state law that requires properties that are adjacent to publicly available sewer systems, that they are required to tie into that sewer system and not use septic tanks. And city code requires any connection to the city sewer, the property must be annexed into the city. In looking at this request, the modified request, as I mentioned, the applicant has indicated only single-family homes will be built on the property. The R2 district in the city allows a somewhat smaller lot size than the current zoning in the county, 12,000 square feet per lot versus the county's 14,000 square feet per lot. However, we also have a provision that requires that the lot size adjacent to any existing lots be within a certain size of those existing lots. Therefore, the properties, any new lots that are established adjacent to the lots in the Riding subdivision will have to be a minimum of 16,550 square feet. In looking at those numbers, taking into consideration the size of, or the amount of land that would be taken up for roads and the rights of way for roads, I calculated that the difference between what can be built in the county currently versus what would be allowed in the city under the proposal is a difference of 38 homes. So there should not be a major impact of those additional 38 homes on any services or utilities or other infrastructure in the city. Based on that, the staff is recommending approval. I should also mention to you that there is a quarter-acre parcel or so that is owned by the city in the area. It is not currently contiguous to the city. It would be contiguous if this property is annexed. The county does indicate that it's in the city limits, but we did not find any records that that occurred. So this is just a record-keeping request, essentially to verify and make sure that we have the proper documentation. That property is currently used as a pump station, and we would
For sewage?
For sewage. And we would recommend that be zoned GU, government use, as other government properties are. There would be no change of use on that property. So the staff recommendation on the revision is approval of the request for R2 zoning with the condition that residential uses be only single-family detached residences, and that the city's property be zoned GU. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Council, are there any questions of Mr. Wood regarding this issue at this time? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is for council to receive input from the public, and we will go through a procedure to do that. Anyone who wishes to speak will be allowed to speak. I would ask that you do not give a sermon, if you don't mind, but I do want you to cover your points. I would also ask if you would be courteous enough to allow, if your point that you want to make, either for or against, has already been made, then please stand and give us your name and address. We do that with everybody so we can get you into the record, and we will note your objection or your for being for the property. And if you will just tell us that your point has already been made and what the point is, that would be sufficient, if that's okay with y'all, and that will help in time more than anything else. Again, I'm not trying to restrict anybody from saying anything. I'm just trying to move the process along. That having been said, at this time, is there anyone present who wishes to speak for the petition for rezoning and annexation application number R1703, applicant of Mulkey Inc., with the rezoning and annexation of property of the 107.11 acres as previously described? Please rise and state your name and address.
My name is Chad Bryan, I'm from Mulkey Inc., 96 Fall Street, Erie. I represent Ski Development, requesting the annexation of zoning of 107 acres from Houston County, R1 to City Code R2. Mr. Wood, he pretty much, I won't reiterate everything that he stated, but again, our request is for single family. I just want to stress that. That's been our intent from the beginning. R2 and R2A. R2A is, from my understanding, city's looking to, or is interested in doing away with that zoning. There's 3 parcels in the entire city limits that have R2A zoning. So we're looking at doing R2 with the restriction to single family. Just wanted to get that clarified. But I just, you covered a lot of the points that I was going to bring up, but one of the things I just want to bring up is this area is no longer the country. I mean, we're within 1 linear mile of the intersection of Lake Joy Road and Highway 96. It's one of the fastest growing areas in our entire county. And really, I mean, 16 years of designing this particular project is teed up, if you will, with so many things that have already been designed to set up those particular piece of property. This is basically was planned to be the next phase of the Riding subdivision. There's 4 access points directly from the Ridings to indicate that future growth was planned for this particular piece of property. We're wedged between a high-density development and a school. So this area has been transitioning over the last 10 years or more, really. But we're bordered by a 3-lane road. In fact, portions of David Carpenter are 4-lane. So access into this parcel, interconnectivity between us and, like I said, we're bordered by major arterial roads with the capacity today this traffic. Our office over the last 10 years, we've conducted 2 hydrology studies one going through the Riding subdivision underneath Sanford Road, as part of the Sanford Road widening. We also did as far as Danny Carpenter, regional detention pond over on that end. So we have a lot of knowledge of this area. We've got regional detention ponds that have been constructed for this particular parcel. So we have detention ponds already created. We have a pump station that's already located on the track. So sewage is available. Like I said, access is there. Again, I mean, this one's been teed up for me, for development. We did that. And really, as Brian stated too, the difference between an R1 with sewer available, there's between R1 development and an R2 development. We're talking about 38 lots. So if it's an R1, you typically get a 2.0 density, so you're looking at 200 lots versus 238 lots, so 238. So, there's really not much difference there, but also in the size of the lots. I mean, under a normal circumstance, an R1 lot, I think under fair regulations, is 14,000 square feet. That would be correct, not 15. But 14,000 square feet versus 12,000 square feet, so there's my difference of 2,000 square feet. Not much difference there. Let's see. And that, really, I think the main points I wanted to get across. And I guess I always have any questions for me before I sit down and try to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Would anyone else like to speak for this application as described? Thank you. At this time, is there anyone present who wishes to speak against the petition for rezoning and annexation application number 17-03 as described? Mr. Green.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the podium if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, I get started again. My name is Dr. Edward Urbanski. I live at 602 Stockport Court in the Tyler Ridge subdivision. My front and backyards have a direct line of sight to Mossy Creek Middle School, and I look through the subject property that is under discussion right now. I oppose, as do my neighbors, both annexation and rezoning. When I put my notes together for this meeting tonight, I had expected to discuss a proposal that was previously discussed at the Planning Commission meeting. And I must say I am once again dismayed that there is now a second change on the table. I do not feel it is fair to the citizens of Houston County that the petitioner made an application. There was a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission received different information at that meeting. A separate proposal was discussed. And now tonight, a second new proposal is discussed. I feel ill-prepared, and I'm going to tailor my comments to the new proposal. But I fear that after tonight, potentially a third proposal could be discussed. And I'm very frustrated. I feel this is the abuse of the public process. So, having said that piece, let me talk to the specifics of the proposal as stated tonight. Although the representative for the petitioner has stated that 2,000 square feet is a small distance, or small amount of area, that is in fact the size of a swimming pool, for example. And so if I look across my neighborhood on my street, there are 3 of us with pools. So that changes the value of our property. This area directly abuts the subdivision that I live in. My neighbor's property is contiguous with this area. Some of them are undoubtedly here tonight. I see some of them right with me. We feel that this will have adverse effects on our property. Now, you can say that R2 zoning is not that different from R1, but it is different. And any difference that results in a lowering of property values in one area affects the property values contiguously. And so what I would appeal to then is the Perryland Development Ordinance that requires council to consider those sorts of implications. First of all, the property that is subject to the petition has economic value as it is. It has value zoned in the county. not annexed, part of the county, and it has value as it is currently zoned in the county. If annexed by the city but kept as R1 with a requirement to keep the lot size similar to all contiguous property, in other words, to keep it at 14 to 16,000 square feet rather than the proposed 12,000 square feet, that would keep the property values similar. Now, I came here tonight to talk to a number of other issues, and because of the change in the proposal, I'm not going to talk to those issues. But I will say this, at the Planning Commission meeting, approximately 80 residents came. This room was packed full, perhaps fuller than it is tonight. Not one resident from Tyler Ridge, from Magnolia Hills, from Royal Oaks, from the Ridings, from Cardinal Ridge, or from, I've forgotten the other name of the Wooden Eagle Plantation, and there are probably others that I'm neglecting. Not one person from all those areas spoke in favor of it. Everyone opposed, and everyone indicated their support for those speakers who opposed the recommendation of the planning staff, and the decision ultimately made by the Planning Commission to unanimously reject the proposal by their clapping. So I suspect that tonight it is the same. I am concerned, even with the small difference, as Okogie Engineering puts it, that the burden on infrastructure will increase. And so some of the factors that were considered previously still remain tonight. For example, the existence of Mossy Creek Middle School and the expansion of traffic around Mossy Creek Middle School is a serious issue, one that must be carefully dealt with and should not be willy-nilly decided. Yes, it is true that extension and expansion of the ridings was always considered to be the case. When my wife and I bought our house, we knew that was the case. But I have some other concerns related to that as well. Annexation is a slippery slope. I've watched it happen in other places where I live, and I deliberately chose to live in the county. I have owned 3 houses in my life. All of them have been outside of city limits because my wife and I prefer a more rural type of lifestyle, as do our children. We are concerned about what the slippery slope of annexation might hold for us in the future. I would hate to think that 10 years from now, I will have to come back to argue that the sewer system should not be expanded, or that I should not have to be annexed into Perry. I'm not going to talk about commercial items because they are not part of this petition any longer. However, I will say this, if the petition changes, I object strongly to any commercial, as do all of my neighbors, for a variety of reasons that I will not discuss tonight. What I would say then in concluding is that I feel that much of the rezoning is inconsistent with the land ordinance, in particular with its stated intent of lessening congestion, of securing safety, of preventing the overcrowding of land, avoiding undue concentration of the population, and protecting property against blight and depreciation. For I feel that if the zoning is changed, my property values will be depreciated. Thank you for hearing me out.
Anyone else like to speak? Please rise, state your name and address. That's fine. Either side is fine.
Mayor Fairclough, Council. I'm Roland Berry. I'm a resident of Royal Oaks. I live 216 Spanish Trail in Royal Oaks. I've lived there for 13 years. And my home is 1/3 of a mile straight line distance to the ski development parcel that's in question here in the particular application for rezoning that is in question. And I rise and speak in opposition of all parts of that application. I attended what was not brought up, I guess, I'm not sure why your staff member didn't bring it up, but I attended your city planning and zoning commission meeting there, and as stated earlier, 16 of my neighbors and myself spoke in opposition to this particular application. And I think it was Planning Commissioner Clarington made the motion that the application be fully denied. There was a voice vote taken, and it was unanimous in your own planning commission to deny this application. Also not brought forward tonight by your staff was the fact that this application went before the county commission. Let's see, that was 18 April before the House and County Commission. The county commission non-concurred with this particular application on a 4-0 vote. And supposedly, I don't know the details of that non-concurrence. I assume that it would be returned to the city of Perry and to your staff, and they would know the details. But what was spoken was I think the basis of their non-concurrence was the density problem that we have out in the particular area that we talked about. Now, the gentleman that spoke, he spoke on behalf of this particular application. Keeps calling it the area. Well, to me and my neighbors, it's not just the area. This is our subdivision, Royal Oaks. I particularly call it West Kathleen, because that's who we are. We're West Kathleen. And it's not just the area to us, it's our home, it's where we live, it's where we raise our families. So I would like to tell you about, I think the part about the rezoning. And if the gentleman says it's just 2,000 square foot difference between the R1 and R2, well, he actually made the point for R1. And the point is, if it's not that much difference, just leave it R1. Well, my basis for opposition between R2 and R1 is that all the surrounding neighborhoods are all R1. There is also a county piece of property across the street from the particular parcel across the street from Danny Carpenter belongs to the county. I'm not sure exactly what the county uses it for, but it's zoned R1 as well. So all the surrounding properties are zoned R1. So from I think the way you call it is you call this spot zoning. In other words, an R2 would be inconsistent with all the other surrounding subdivisions. So that's my basis for objection to the application for R2, is that it is incompatible with all the other surrounding neighborhoods, subdivisions that fall on Danny Carpenter and on Sanford. I'm sure some other people will talk about the density problem, and you'll probably hear from some of the families and maybe some of the moms about that. So I'm going to avoid that point and let them bring that to you. You'll hear enough about that. As far as the annexation goes, I've spoken to 7 of my neighbors in my immediate area where I live, and none want anything to do either with my subdivision or the surrounding subdivisions to do with annexation. And while I do realize the city hasn't made an investment, I believe that was an agreement that the city made with either the school board or the county commission to place sewer and water out to Mossy Creek Middle School. And that was the reason that the sewer and the water was placed out there, and that's why the land is contiguous. And I might add that it's only contiguous, the best that I can determine, up Danny Carpenter. I don't believe that the city is contiguous to that particular parcel on Sanford. I think that's the way it's going. So we live in, I can still consider it a country style living, even though maybe the engineers from Okmulgee don't consider that. I've lived there for 13 years. I do consider it that way. And we like that part of what I call Houston County heaven. We love that area. We like the way we live, and we don't particularly want that to be changed with annexation. And that's the basis for my objection on annexation. Now, I have a whole paragraph here on commercial, but since the application was changed, I think I will just not give you that part and save some time for someone else. So, Mayor Fairclough and council members, I'd like you to please consider these points that I've made, and please give it some value when you think about your voting and about the quality of life for my neighborhood and the neighborhoods that surround mine and that neighborhood that will grow up there in the particular parcel. And I ask that you, the members, vote to deny in full this application. And unless you have questions for me, I will yield the podium.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Mayor, you know who I am, your council knows who I am, but for the record, I'm Lawson Wood, I live at 426 Sandifer Road, I've owned that property since 1945, in one shape, form, or another. My dad bought that farm in 1945, and we moved here to Boone County, it has come a long way since 1945. I'd like to address a couple of points that have been made. One is the background on the sewer that is on Danny Carpenter and Sandifer Road. It was not put there for Mossy Creek Middle School. It was put there for Wooden Eagle subdivision, and we had a real flailette with that, I'm sure all of you remember. The county said that they would concur with your development of the property back there now known as Wooden Eagle if you did not issue building permits until you had a sewer there. They were selling houses before the sewer was put there, and the reason the sewer was put there is that all the neighbors around Sandifer Road got together and came to your council, and you put a stop to it, prior administration. We appreciate that. There is some disparity between what was submitted to the P&Z Commission the first time your P&Z Commission. All of us that were there heard that that thing was turned down flat. Unanimously, by the way. Then when it went to the House of County Commission, it was altered slightly. It was going to be something called limited commercial and R2. Now we find out that there's no commercial, then it's still going to be R2. Well, we question the density of the neighborhood. The county at their hearing classified it as spot zoning. And Mr. Berry just alluded to that fact, so I won't delve on that for very long. I'm sure that if you folks lived out there, and somebody came along and said, we're gonna do this to your neighborhood, you would be in our position and you'd be banging on somebody's desk about it. I think the people that live out there deserve a lot more than they're getting in this endeavor. It has not been entirely above the board, and I did not come here to cast aspersions on the character of any individual. One of my main concerns, I have 5 acres of property across the road from me on Sandifer, 9 acres. And there are some other properties around that are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. So it's not gonna affect me as much as it's gonna affect these people. But the traffic that goes up and down Sandifer, up and down Danny Carpenter, affects my quality of life. It's noisy out there, motorcycles come ripping up through there, 4-wheelers, you name it, it's out there. I love the Perry Police Department, but there's only so much they can do. And Chief Lynn and his crew, every time I've asked them to come out there and run a traffic check or check on this or check on that, they have done so, and I appreciate it. But they don't have enough people to have another subdivision out there for them to support. And I think we should consider that. I beg you to consider that. And give the folks that live on Sandifer Road the respect that they deserve by not destroying their neighborhood.
Anyone else like to speak at this time? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Stephen
Stay right
Abraham.
there. I'm sorry.
Stephen Abraham, 109 Eddington Drive at the Ridings. And I think everything's already been said. In opposition to this, I'll just concur with what they've said so far.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, please state your name and address.
City Council. My name is Dwayne White. I live at 258 Hackersage Drive, the Ridings, and I am against the rezoning. The reason I'm against it is the lack of trust for the petitioner. To put in layman's term, we have went from a commercial 7-Eleven that they wanted to build to a daycare center to now all of a sudden single family housing. There's a extreme lack of trust with the petitioner, with his original aspect of what he wanted to do with the rezoning to now. Even your own staff member at the last meeting, planning commission, was caught blatantly off guard by the petitioner changing it from a commercial store to all of a sudden want to be a daycare facility. The other reason is that we are hearing that the school right across the street, Mossy Creek, is already full to its limit. Adding more development to the housing, to that, will cause an undue burden to the school. Also, putting more, an R2, changing the rezoning to an R2 is like putting a hunting dog in a mouse hole. You want to cramp more housing inside a very small area. And finally, Mr. Mayor and Councilman, I spoke before on values. I love going home to nothing. We ever watched the show Seinfeld? It was a show about nothing. When I come home from work, hard day's work, it feels good to go to that area and actually see nothing. To go down Danny Carpenter to nothing. Nothing but farmland, trees. I see birds. I still see rabbits. That feels so nice. It really comforts me when I had a hard day at work to see nothing. We ask that we keep it R1. We ask, why can't it be a park, walking trails, place where people of all colors, of all ages, can get together and to join one another, where children can actually be outside playing. That's a joy nowadays, because most kids are indoors. Why can't it be a place of joy where everybody from all the communities, from all the subdivisions can all get together and rejoice in one spot there, in an open field that can be turned into a park, a playground for kids, which would be perfect right across the school. So my objection against this is for family values. I remember growing up when I was little, playing and going to different places, and I remember just going to, when I go out in the street, going out to the fields, going out to the woods and stuff when I was little. That felt nice as a kid. You can't do that when you add more housing, when you change things to C2 commercialized. The commercialization of our societies, we ask that we put that in your hands today. That we don't do it. That we go back to the way it used to be. To nothing. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Pollard. I live
436 Sanford Road, corner of Danny Carpenter and Sanford. Been there 29 years. To be quite honest, I hated to see the riders come in, I hated to see Magnolia Hill come, I hated to see all those things come in. Nothing against the neighbors, we got some great neighbors. My family's probably the source of a lot of his heartache, because all those four-wheelers and motorcycles were ours. And we rode all over the place, had permission to ride on the property at the time. We still see kids out there riding, and it's great, it's a joy in my heart to see them out there having a good time riding. They're not playing video games, they're not doing all this stuff. But progress is progress, and I always knew one day there'd be houses over there. And I must say, I'm glad that it's going the way it's going. Because when I first heard about this, I was really upset there was going to be a convenience store in my front yard and all the lights at night. So I'm kind of glad that it's going the way it's going, but I don't see the need for why it has to be high-density housing and why it has to be the city of Perry. Nothing against the city of Perry. I think y'all got a great community, don't get me wrong. But Houston County is a great place too, and we have great services, great public services. I'm part of that public service, so I know how good we are, and I've used the services at my house, both EMS, fire, and county SO. So we have adequate coverage for the area. So I would just like to ditto what everybody else has said about the opposition, but would like to also voice that I really don't see the need that it be city or that it be R2. I see no reason not to keep things for the rest of the neighborhood. I can't get with. I would love to see the park, don't get me wrong, I think that's a great idea, but the man owns the property and he ought to be allowed to do within reason what he does with his property. If we all want to get him by and make a park out of it, I'm sure he'd be willing to sell it for whatever price he wants to come up with, but I don't know that any of us have those financial resources. So, but anyway, I just want you to know that and to know that, yeah, I have a vested interest because it's right across the street from my house. The other question I have, if this goes forward, whether it stays in the county or the city, is how would the road access be generated? Because when the road was widened at Sanford, I was told by the developer, the guy building the road, that there would be no access approved from that piece of property on Sanford Road. So any access to that property would have to come off of either Danny Carpenter or through the other neighbors. And you can say what you want to, the traffic is terrible out there. I have to call the county periodically to come set up radar. And I do it about twice a year to get people to slow down because they use it as a cut through to avoid Highway 96. They use it as a cut through to avoid all kinds of things. And the traffic is bad now. And if you put 200 more homes out there on that corner, it's going to be even worse. And I'm not foolish enough to know that the property around Mossy Creek and all over the hill toward 96 is not going to have the same issue in a year or two. Somebody's going to want to put houses or something else worse there. So it's only going to get worse. And I don't want to give you any more of my property to make the road any wider. Go in the front door now.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sherry Josie, 113 Sycamore Road, Magnolia Hill subdivision. Just one thing that I did want to point out, the difference between, is it R1 and R2 zoning, the gentleman talked about it would only be an addition of 38 homes. Most people, most homes now have at least 2 cars, some 3. I know I have 3 in my family. So you're talking about, for the difference in zoning, for 38 additional homes, you're talking about at least 76 additional cars coming and going 2 and 3 times a day, because I expect these to be family homes and we'll be taking children here and there. So you're talking about that much more traffic, that many more cars in and out, going by children on bicycles, walking, families, and all of that. And in addition, the additional 38 homes, if there are 4 people within those homes, that would be an additional 152 people in that area, over and above if you just let it stay R1. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Belinda Reese, this is my husband Bobby Reese, and we live at 101 Cardinal Ridge, which is, he's our backyard. We look at his house from my backyard, so we're right, looking, right across there. And I just want to, just for the record, just reiterate everything that said, it's definitely like it to say all one.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to echo some of the other comments. I appreciate those facts and figures that were just shared as far as, pardon me?
Name and address.
Andrea Brunner, 212 Heather Sage Drive, in the Riding Subdivision. I definitely want to echo some of the other comments that were made and appreciate those. Some of the facts and figures that were just shared as far as those additional homes, the impact that it would have on our area. Just to make it a little bit more personal, I am a parent. I have children that go to Mossy Creek. The traffic is tremendous in the morning. The principal of that school stands outside of direct traffic. It often backs up from Danny Carpenter all the way down to Sandifer and in the other direction. So we already have a congestion problem. I think that multiplying that by adding additional congestion in the area. I'm all for development, as you guys know. I think that an additional neighborhood is not a problem. I would definitely support that. But the density really, I think, is really the challenge that I oppose at this point. And then one other thing I just want to bring your attention to, there are other examples of this in our area. If you think of Fagan Mill Middle School, the density in housing surrounding that middle school is tremendous. And you have other neighborhoods that are more outlying, that have larger homes, larger pieces of property, but the density around that school creates challenges. And there is a definite difference in the area that it has created, not only in that school, but also just in the surrounding area. Huge impact. So, again, I'm opposed to this proposed rezoning of R2. We definitely have to do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nervous mother speaker. I'm Gliding Bridges. I live at 452 Sandifer Road. My parents bought that house in '74. There's nothing but very few residences and farmland. I love the progress we have. Thank the Lord for Huston County's progress. But we do have so much traffic on Sandifer Road. And I'm not opposed to that. It is just something we got to battle and work with. But I am appalled that with more people, there is a crime factor. I'm appalled there was a murder right across the street in the Riding. And my neighbor at 1 o'clock in the afternoon was broke into her home and accosted me. And so that is another negative factor bringing more people to our area. And then I have a friend who lived on the First Road who had chickens. And now they have a rezoned something, and she had them lived there 20 years, and can't even have her few little chickens. And at one time, we had all, the farm animals, and now we're down to just a few chickens. And I'd be sad if I couldn't have my little animals, my 8 acres. And I love my neighbors, they have bought my fresh farm eggs. But I do love the progress, and thank y'all for that and helping me.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? The lady behind you. Raise your hand first.
Hi, my name is Mary Catherine Liberty. I'm at 204 Bush Court in Magnolia Hill Subdivision. Some days I'm a little confused about the zoning anyway, because when I'm coming home, right when I'm at Mossy Creek, there's a Perry city limit sign. I've turned off of Danny Carpenter into my neighborhood, and my address is Kathleen, and I pull out of my neighborhood onto 96, and I'm in Warner Robin, so it's kind of weird anyway. But I too would like to respectfully request that you keep this area at R1. The traffic is horrendous. I understand the young man talks about the county is really growing. I agree with that. That's why we've gone through a multi-year project of widening 96 to accommodate commercial traffic and extra growth. not in the residential areas where we live. My question is, just from my understanding about public service and approximate response times. The reason I ask, in February, I was involved in a traffic accident out near Mossy Creek. I called 911, Peach County EMS answered. They told me they would transfer me to Houston County EMS. I told them the situation. They said someone would be there. 10 minutes later, no one had shown, so I called back, again, spoke to Peach County. They transferred me to Houston County. I told them that we had been standing on the street waiting. We were holding up traffic. Through the grace of God, no one needed immediate medical help. But if that area is annexed and we put that many more cars on the road, we all have children. We all moved out there because it's a great place to raise your family. I have a 16-year-old who's been driving 3 weeks, and she drives that route back and forth to Houston County High School every day. And my concern is, with that many cars, inevitably you're going to have traffic accidents. You're going to have things happen. What kind of response time would there be, and where would policemen and fire department, where would they be coming from to serve that area? I'm just not familiar where your posts are. Is there a place near? Because it took us almost 30 minutes just to get someone to respond, and a sheriff's deputy finally came to the accident, and he said, well, I'm not even really supposed to be out here, but I guess I called so many times they sent somebody. But that's very troubling. If someone had a real medical need, 30 minutes would be a tremendous difference if somebody were laying there and needed help immediately. So that's my concern, is how would that area be served adequately? And I just respectfully request that you do leave this at R1. Of all the proposals, that this very fluid proposal has been, because we have heard so many different, and every change to this plan that we've heard has just been someone standing up and speaking. It's never been what's in writing on the board. So I'm hoping that the commercial is off the plan and this is just residential. The farmer does have the right to do whatever he can with the land, but I just feel like it would be reckless to put even more cars, more congestion in that area by zoning it R2 if we could leave it R1. And again, my other concern is response times for emergency if that suddenly becomes the city of Perry. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Jan Ward, 215 Adams H Drive. Don't need to beat a dead horse. I agree with everyone who's disagreeing with this. And the traffic there is horrible. We have children that walk to and from Mossy Creek. It's less than a mile from the house. It's great that they walk to and from school. No one does that anymore. That much more traffic in there. It's just gonna make it more dangerous for our children. It's dangerous enough that there's a crosswalk there, but it's not a manned crosswalk. So the children have to walk across the street, and we want safety, and I would love to see it as a park. So, maybe if someone could tell your Automobile guy, you can tell your guy, he can name it after him. And that would be something for future generations to love and enjoy, and, a memorial to him.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Melissa Reed, 425 Sawtooth Court, Kathleen, West Kathleen, Warner Robins, Houston County, whatever it is. I just want to go on the record as well stating that we, as me and my husband and family, oppose this as well. And kind of back to what Miss Josie was saying, it is only 38 houses. I have 3 cars, my daughter, my husband, I. It sounds easy. Oh, it's only 38 houses, put it here. But when you look at the numbers like that,
that's when you start thinking, oh, it's really not just 38 houses. It's, you know, how many more people, how many more cars, how many more little kids, you know, grow up, walk to Mossy Creek. When my son went to Mossy Creek, I live a quarter of a mile, 2 blocks. A year and a half ago, I would not let him walk to Mossy Creek. A year and a half ago. It was bad then. It's worse now. I know some kids walk to Mossy Creek. Teenage drivers, I have one, she has one. A lot, they just are, you know, I get in a rush in the morning. So many of us, you just don't, you know, you just don't look, and you just, I'm afraid, like everyone else has said, hopefully a bad accident's not gonna happen. Hopefully someone's child's not gonna get hit. A lot of things could happen. So it's easy to say it's just 38 houses, but it's a lot more to us that live out there than just 38 houses.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Philip Pickles. I live at 162 Addington Drive.
I'm sorry, a little slower.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Philip Pickles, P-Y-K-L-E-S. I live at 162 Addington Drive. I agree with just about everything being said here. I'm in opposition to this. My main reason, I'm not going to lie, is financial. I just moved into the area. I've been there less than a year. My concern is the research I did around the properties around me. It looks like 6 or 7 homes around me. My property butts up to the property in question. So my concern is that I know we're talking about going from 14,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet. The best I can tell, everything in the writings sits on, it's almost, I'm not positive because I didn't research every plot, but it looks like our minimum plot size for the subdivision was 16,550 square feet. So if we're talking about letting them build at a minimum of 12,000, I understand that R1 is a minimum of 14,000, but apparently in our subdivision, they chose to make the plots bigger. So we're talking about, you know, a 4,000 square foot difference in plot size. And I understand that they put in provisions where all the property adjacent to us would be the same size. But if you talk about right on the other side of that, they're gonna cram them down to 4,000 square feet smaller. I just don't see how that would not negatively affect our property values. I mean, they would have to come in on these much smaller plots and build amazing brick homes with, you know, top-end stuff to keep the property values the same as ours. I just don't see them doing that on a plot size that much smaller. I'm not opposed to them developing the land. I knew it was gonna happen. I've only been there a year. I was hoping it would last, you know, a little bit longer, be able to walk out my backyard and just see it in the field, but I don't wanna see cookie cutter, for the lack of a better term, cookie cutter homes that are gonna sell for $50,000 to $60,000 less than mine on property sizes that are 4,000 square foot smaller than ours, just so somebody can make a buck. They want to build houses, that's great, they can build them. I mean, since I've moved in, I think they've built 10 houses within, you know, a quarter mile of me. They're selling like crazy at $200,000, $260,000. So keep it R1, minimum 14,000 square foot, build nice homes. You're going to sell them no problem, because that's what people want out in that area. We need to move out there. I came from a cookie cutter neighborhood. Me and my wife, we liked it at first. It was our first home. We lived there for 10 years. Lived there for 10 years. I sold my house for $500 less than I bought it for. The neighborhood tanked, it appraised for $500 less than I paid for it. I don't want that happening here, because somebody comes in and just builds cookie cutter cheap homes in our backyard.
Anyone else like to speak against?
Oh, she said,
We gotta do it now, man.
172 Addington.
Your name, I'm sorry, your name again, sir?
Ruben Torres.
Thank you.
172 Addington Drive. Speaking on behalf of Joaquin Torres. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say ditto with everybody. Everybody says I oppose to it as well. 38 homes to me, if you double it, any which way you wanna look at it. I have a lot of cars. I don't wanna get blasted. But, you have that, you have extra people, you have extra family. Not against, you know, having more families. The thing is that it's just funny how somebody just says 38 homes is nothing, but it is. It's probably an extra road, It's more cars, more congestion, more people. So, like everybody says, it's not we're not opposing the development of houses. You know, it's gonna happen. It seems like everywhere I go, it happens. It happened to me in Illinois. They send me to DC, and I got houses all the way up to the side of my head. I get here, it's beautiful, and happening just like it happened in more houses on top of it. The way the world works, right? But I just say let's make it a family, not about, but let's make it about the real dream, the trees and the people, and not the dollars. Thank you.
Anyone else opposed?
We all vote.
No, sir. This is a public hearing for information to council. If your response is in opposition to the applicant, then you can, but this isn't the right time on that. Please.
What was the question?
Anyone else like to speak opposed? Yes, sir.
Mayor Fairclough, Councilman, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. Thanks for everybody else showing up and support this. I'm Chance Coleman. It's my wife, Lauren Coleman. We live at 168 Addington Drive in the Riding. I haven't even lived there for a month now. My wife and I have been stationed here since 2007. Finally out of an apartment and finally had my first house. Or our first house, I should say, just I think let me preface this to the Reverend real quick. I am in seminary school, so I'll try my best not to preach. So I'll make this really short. I think we all have a dream, whether that's a house, a career, or something else in our life. But I just want to emphasize to yourself, Mayor and the Councilman, everybody in this room, that nothing against R2. I'm not pinpointing a group of people or anything like that. I'm just, my house, I literally look at the backyard and there's that field. I cut the grass the other day and I got right to the edge of the field, so I'm right there in it. I think one of the proposals before from the builder, I could be misspoken, is not really much of a barrier if there is a plan to put anything back there. So that is a little discomforting. But going back to my main point, I hope you all, at the end of the day, just put yourself in our shoes. I think you've all been there, one way or another, whether it's a house or something else in life. And I just ask you think about that when you make that decision. We all have dreams, and you are holding our dreams in our hand right now. And I pray that you don't crush it. But I pray that, unlike what seems like a return on the owner of the property, it doesn't seem to me like it's an investment in the community. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak against?
My name is Elaine Holiday. I live at 600 Stockport Court, Tyler Ridge. I think that we're all here opposed for the aforementioned reasons. So does that mean we just need to stand up and give our name and address so that?
Yes, ma'am. If the reasons that you're opposing have already been stated, then state just what you did, and we'll put your name into the record as opposition for previous reasons stated.
Okay, great. So
And
you
then
can
let's do the count.
add Anthony and Brandon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm guessing we're just gonna go down the line and say our name and our address, because I'm quite aware that everybody sitting in here opposes it, except for, I don't even know who the person that's speaking for it at this point, because it's changed so much. But I'm Renee Randall, 410 Sawtooth Court, Magnolia Hill. I'm strongly opposed for all the same reasons everyone said here. I also have a stake in the school there. I know it's crowded. We have kids there. I spoke about this the last time. We have kids there that have special needs. More traffic is going to cause, they have runners. They do. You put more traffic, you're putting more issues on them, but the school keeping them safe as well. That's my opposition. So I guess whoever wants to go next.
Thank you, ma'am.
If that's how you want us to do it. I mean, should we all say our name and address?
Well, if you want to speak in opposition to it, yes.
Oh, well,
So.
then who's next?
The gentleman behind you.
My name is Doug Daniels. I live at 310 Magnolia Hill Road, and I oppose for all the reasons mentioned earlier.
Thank you, sir. Now, yes, sir.
My name is Darrell Harris. I live on 401 Dunedin Court, and I oppose everything was said too. And one thing I was going to say is the reason why I moved in that area is so my kids could go to. Me and my wife, we researched all the high schools and everything. Now my son is only 11, but I moved to that area so he could go to Houston County High School. Not saying that nothing wrong with Perry, like everybody else is, but I wanted him to be able to go to that high school because that's what we researched.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Tracy Prince, 214 Hudson Drive, and I face R2.
Thank you, ma'am.
Adam Kolick at 154 Avenue. I oppose for all the same reasons. I'm also part of the HOA, the writing of the HOA, vice president for it, and the board actually opposes it as well. That's for the same reasons.
Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Dr. Shirley Fisher, and I live at 417 Sawtooth Court in Magnolia Hill. I am in opposition of this, as for all reasons stated, and my husband is over here, Robert Fisher. You need him to speak separately for himself, which he can do.
I will never get between a husband and a wife. If you're going to speak for him, I'm going to take it.
If you want to do 2 for 1 for less writing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Howard Luckett, and I'm at 132 Addington Drive, and I concur with all those who are opposed. And might I add my wife's name? She's not here.
Sir, she's supposed to be here, but if you want to add her, I'm not going to stop her.
Her name is Joyce Luckett. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak against? Yes, ma'am.
Chris Brown, 105 Addington Drive. My husband Sam is also here. We are speaking in opposition. I will say that Jeff has an excellent reputation of the homes that he builds, and I have no doubt that if it's developed at an R1, he will do an outstanding job of the neighborhood because he has that reputation, and I commend him for that. As an educator, I'm looking at Mossy Creek is already overloaded. You put that many more houses, that many more children there, and Mossy Creek is going to be rezoned. I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Which is going to create another chaos in itself. The traffic issue has been addressed. Again, you know, something will have to be done there. If it's in the city, something will have to be done there to control the traffic. I was walking the other day down Sandifer, and a motorcycle went by me well in excess of 100 miles an hour. I have had people repeatedly passing me in the turn lane, coming up the hill from 41, coming up the hill, which is a blind area. They can't see anybody pulling out. Something's going to have to be done, or somebody's going to get killed. And quite frankly, I don't want it to be me, and I don't want it to be my husband. And I mean, I'm just being honest. But I'm looking at it also, like I said, from an education standpoint. If you overload that school anymore, it's going to have to be rezoned. And that's going to create a plethora of issues there. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak against? Yes, sir.
Patrick Ward, 215 Hathaway Sage Drive. I think everybody's covered everything. I'm opposed.
Thank you, sir.
Now that my nerves are calmed down, I'm Clyding Bridges. One last thing at 452 Sandifer. Unbelievably, on our 8 acres, when my parents bought that land and when we lived there for the first so many years and it was farmland, we could drive across the front acreage with our tractor. Now, if you notice, we are the ones with the big guardrail and the giant Grand Canyon down there. Love you neighbors for our fact, but naturally you can't fight the hand of God, and the lay of the land is downhill and across the road. And bless the county, we didn't have the funds to fix it. We had to donate our land, and you all did fix that ditch with the rock and the grading, but that more houses, there's gonna be more water, and sorry, sir, it does look like the lay of the roads are inevitably going towards us. And so between us and our neighbor, Miss Gray at 450, it's really a Grand Rapid and a Grand Canyon. So in that factor is what I feel bad. But I do love my neighbor.
Anyone else like to speak against? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Allison Grenfell, 506 Ardwick Court. I just want to say that I oppose the R2 and for a lot of reasons here. I just also like to stress to the council to please look at the infrastructure issues that they've been talking about as far as traffic in and out of the Tyler Ridge Ridings Division. If that's the only entrance and exit that's going to be out of that new division, just please look at all the infrastructure and schools and water and trash pickup and all that kind of good stuff. Just please do a lot of research on it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Christian Patel, 201 River Valley Trail, Royal Oaks. And I like to approach R2, and I also have a house in Ridings. So, that's okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy Faulkner, my wife Melissa, we live at 135 Hathaway Sage. We oppose all everything.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak opposed? Thank you. Council item 7B. This is still a continuation of a public hearing. 7B is a petition for rezoning application number R-17-05. The applicant, Bird and Company LLC, requests rezoning of property from the City of Perry R3 multifamily residential district to City of Perry planned unit development. The property is located in Champions Way at Houston Lake Road. Mr. Wood.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, this is a request based on side setback requirements. The subdivision of this property has already been approved and is under construction. The applicant is requesting the PUD zoning to reduce the side setback of the interior of the property from 8 feet to 5 feet to allow for some flexibility with the design of houses. This does not impact any of the setbacks on the exterior of the property. There are no residential properties, developed residential properties surrounding this, so the impact will be only on the interior of the site. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Hold on, Mr. Wood. Does any member of council have any questions of Mr. Wood concerning this application? Thank you, sir. At this time, is there anyone present who wishes to speak for the petition for rezoning application number 17-05? The applicant, Birding Company LLC as described.
I'm
Yes, sir.
Michael Mason, I'm from Story Clark and Associates at 253 Carlton City Parkway. Basically, like we said earlier, we're just trying to get the side yard variance changed, and instead of going through and doing variance requests on individual lots, we're just trying to get a blanket change for the whole subdivision.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak for the application as described? Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak against the application petition for rezoning number 17-05, the applicant Birding Company LLC as described? Thank you. This public hearing is now closed. As a matter of course, for information purposes, the first reading we have in a public hearing for any zoning matters has happened. Council will take all the information that we have been presented under consideration. We will take action on these particular issues, since we have had two, at our next regularly scheduled council meeting, and that will be on May the 16th at 6 o'clock. As a reminder, all of our meetings are open to the public. We have work sessions the Monday nights prior to council meetings, and what we talk about in there may or may not relate to what we do in the next meetings, but they're still open for the public. We also have pre-council meetings that happen every council meeting night at 5 o'clock upstairs in the conference room. It is also open to the public for anybody who is interested. Item 8 is a review of minutes. Well, let me stop here. That's it. As far as the public hearing is concerned, now there's going to be another spot down in the agenda for anybody who wishes and can address council, and it's what we call an open session. So if you want to stick around for that, that's fine. If you don't want to hear the rest of this, that's fine too. You're welcome to leave at any time, but if you do, please be cognizant that we still have some business to address, and we are going to continue with the meeting. Thank you for your input. Council item 8 is a review of minutes. 8A, council, for your consideration, you have been provided the minutes of the April 17th, 2017 work session, the April 18th, 2017 pre-council meeting, and the April 18th, 2017 council meeting. At this time, I will entertain a motion that we approve these minutes as presented. There's a motion and a second. Any additions, deletions, changes, or discussion of the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9 is old business. Item 9A is an ordinance for the second reading and adoption. Item 9A1, council, this is the second reading of an ordinance to amend the Perry Code by deleting section 4-21 in its entirety and adding a new section 4-21, unified animal control definitions. Chief Lynn.
Yes, sir, Mayor, Mayor, and Council. If you recall, at our last regular scheduled meeting, the first reading was held for this unified animal control ordinance. This came at the request of Houston County so that the county and all the city, all the municipalities inside the county are on the same page as far as animal control. The ordinance has been reviewed and drafted by the city attorney, and it's been reviewed by the police department. We're in accordance with the draft. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Does any member of council have any questions concerning this particular item at this time? Thank you, Chief. This is the second reading. It is time for adoption. Council, this time I will entertain a motion that we adopt the ordinance that amends the Perry Code by deleting a section 4-21 and adding a section 4-21 for unified animal control definitions as described. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 10 is any other old business. Item 10A is any other old business from the mayor. I have none. Item 10B is any other old business from council members. Ms. Bynum Grace? Mr. Jones? Mr. Walker? Mr. Hunt?
No.
Mr. King? Thank you. Item 10C is any other old business from the city manager, Mr. Gilmore?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item 10D is any other old business from the city attorney, Mr. Walker, who stepped out for a moment. I'm going to assume it's no. I will come back. Yes, if you would, please open a door. Thank you. Mr. Walker, we just got to the place on the agenda for any other old business from item 10D, the city attorney. Do you have any other old business for us?
none.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that confirmation. Item 11 is new business. Item 11A are matters that have been referred from the May 1st, 2017 work session and the May 2nd, 2017 pre-council meeting. Mr. Gilmore, is there anything that came up in the May 1st, 2017 work session that we held last night that needs our attention at this time?
No, sir.
Also, is there anything that we discussed during the May 2nd, 2017 pre-council meeting we had at 5 o'clock that needs to be addressed by us at this time?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item 11B are ordinances for the first reading and introduction. Item 11B1, council, this is the first reading of an ordinance for the rezoning of property consisting of 107.11 acres from Houston County R-1, the City of Perry R-2, two-family residential district, and C-2 general commercial district. The property is located at the corner of Sandifer Road and Danny Carpenter Drive. Council, this is the first reading and introduction, therefore no action is required by council at this time. Item 11B2, council, this is the first reading of an ordinance for the annexation of property consisting of 107.11 acres from Houston County R-1, the City of Perry R-2, two-family residential district, and C-2 general commercial district. The property is located at the corner of Sandifer Road and Danny Carpenter Drive. Again, this is the first reading and introduction, therefore no action is required by council at this time. Item 11B3, council, this is the first reading of an ordinance for the rezoning of property from City of Perry R-3 multifamily residential district to City of Perry planned unit development. The property is located on Champions Way and Houghton Lake Road. Again, because it's the first reading and introduction, no action is required by council at this time. Item 11C are resolutions for consideration and adoption. Item 11C1 is a resolution amending the Perry fee schedule. Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, in your packet, we provided a resolution proposing to amend the fee schedule to add a service fee of $50 for any applicant who comes in and wants to install a private well in the city. You may remember we've had a few examples of that coming up. It does require some city resource time, and we recommend to you to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Does any member of council have any questions of Mr. Gilmore concerning the amendment for the resolution to adjust the Perry fee schedule as described? Hearing none, at this time I want to take a motion that we adopt the resolution that amends the Perry fee schedule for well permit fees as described. There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11D, we're being asked to establish a commercial letter of credit for the Perry Preserve Streets. Mr. McMurray.
Mayor and council, in the packet, you have a Perry Preserve road testing memo from me. It is to address a letter of credit that the staff is recommending for the Perry Preserve roads. These roads, as you're aware, began construction in 2007. The lots had vacant for some time. We had a third party come in and do some core testing and proof roll of the area, with results finding that 25 to 30% of these roads were just below city specifications. Some are within tolerance, but below specifications. The recommendation from staff is a letter of credit that will cover the percentage of roads that are out of specifications, and that credit be released as phases complete to 90% build out as each phase. With the cost associated.
This was determined by hiring an outside agency?
Yes, Preston Testing and Consulting.
When the streets are brought into the city based on the 90% completed, they will be at or above city specs, is that correct?
Yes, the review will be completed by city staff and Okmulgee Engineering to confirm that the roads are in good quality. If not, the letter of credit will be exercised, or the builder will,
Bring the road up.
developer will bring up the standards.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions of Mr. McMurray concerning the letter of credit as described? Thank you, sir. Council, at this time, I will entertain a motion that we establish a partial letter of credit for Perry Preserve Streets as described.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 11E is a special event application. Item 11E1, the Perry Chamber of Commerce is hosting its Independence Parade and Freedom Fireworks event on Sunday, June 25th, 2017, beginning at 6 p.m. Chief Lynn. Also, item 11E1A is the approval of street closures. If you'll cover the whole thing, please, sir.
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to. So, Mayor and council, this is our annual, if you will, 4th of July event, although this year it's occurring on June 25th, which is a Sunday. And it starts with a parade. The lineup for the parade is at 4 p.m. The parade kicks off at 6. It follows our traditional parade route, which is Washington, and these are the streets that will need to be closed. Washington to Main, to General Courtney Hodges, to Larry Walker, and then the North Gate to Accent. And following the parade, of course, is the fireworks, and there's a band. This is a chamber event. It's generally well attended. So we've got the event application, which you have on board pack, that requests a waiver of fees on the part of the chamber, and also a list of city services that are requested in support. At the police department, we have reviewed the application. We're fine with it. It's generally what it was last year. And so we recommend approval from the police side, but the street closures and the fee waiver are out of my purview.
Thank you, Chief Lynn. Chief Parker, from the Fire and Emergency Services Division, you see any issues with this particular event?
No, sir, no issue.
Thank you. This is a standard parade route, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It's happening in years past. Does any member of council have any questions of Chief Lynn at this time concerning this particular event? Thank you, sir. Council, at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the Perry Chamber of Commerce's Independence Parade and Freedom Fireworks event application that includes the approval of street closures as described. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Gilmore, is there anything under new business that we need to address at this time that we have not already spoken about?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item 12 are department head items. We'll start with the Department of Economic Development. Mr. Smith.
Mayor, Mayor and Council, on behalf of the Perry Housing Team, I wanted to let you and the public know that we hated to cancel the Perry Housing Fair this past Thursday. Unfortunately, inclement weather kind of forced our hand on that. We want to make sure that everyone that's going to be in attendance was going to be safe. But we are working to reschedule the housing fair, so please keep your eyes and ears open. We should be announcing a new date, a new time, and perhaps a new location here in the next couple of weeks. I just wanted to let everyone know we did receive a lot of interest, a lot of phone calls and that type of thing about it. So rest assured, we're still going to have the housing fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. From the Department of Leisure Services, Mr. Dye.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council and the audience, I just wanted to follow up that we had a very successful fishing rodeo event last weekend. For anyone in the audience who attended, we sure appreciate seeing you there. If you got family members or loved ones that or friends that just happened to go out there, there was a nice Facebook video posted today by Ms. Palmer. Go check that out. It was a lovely day. Ms. Vine Grace made sure we had perfect weather, and we're always appreciative of that. It was a good time, but we plan on doing it next year. It'll be around April, around this time frame. So just had fun with that event. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. From the Department of Community Development, Mr. Wood.
Mayor, I have nothing further tonight.
Thank you. From the police department, Chief Lynn.
Just one item, sir, Mayor and Council, in the form of a report back. I reported to you previously that we had delivered the right diversity training to the fire department. We rolled out the first class for the police department today, got roughly half of our personnel, and we'll deliver it again on Thursday of this week. There'll be some that were unavailable for some reason or other, so we'll have a mop-up class after that. And so we're moving right along with that project.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Do we have anything from the city clerk's office, Ms. Warren?
No, sir.
Thank you. From the Fire and Emergency Services Department, Chief Parker.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Thank you. From Public Works.
Nothing back.
Thank you, Mr. Shep. Ms. Palmer disappear on us? Okay. She's our media specialist. She's the reason that most of this stuff, well, all of this stuff gets posted where it's supposed to be posted and tracking it. She's doing a fantastic job. So I wanted to make sure I counted her in and she had a report for us. Item 13 are council member items. Ms. Bynum Grace? Mr. Jones?
No.
Mr. Walker?
No.
Mr. Hunt?
No.
Mr. King? No, sir. Thank you. Mr. Gilmore?
No, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Walker?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item 14 are general public items. Is there any member of the general public who wishes to address council on any item at this time? Yes, sir. I know you've already done it once. Will you please state your name and address? Yes.
Absolutely, sir. Dr. Edward Urbanski, I live at 602 Stockport Court in Kathleen. I'm very concerned that the ordinance that was put up here moments ago did not reflect the proposal as stated. I feel that that is a foul and that was inappropriate. Therefore, I feel the need to specifically address it again. In fact, now that the ordinance was stated including commercial property, I feel the need to actually address the commercial issues. So unless I receive a promise saying that is not accurate and that will not reflect the ordinance, I will continue.
That was not request based on what Mr. Woods presented tonight. That will not be in the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker is the city attorney, and what Mr. Wood presented tonight is the current status of this particular issue, and the commercial property is not in the ordinance.
So I would ask then that the council not treat this as the first reading of the ordinance since it was displayed inaccurately, but then display it again at the next meeting for the first reading as it is intended to read in its final form.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address council? Yes, sir.
Roland Berry, 216 Spanish Trail. I'd just like to thank the council for taking the time to listen to the members of my neighborhood. And I would appreciate your time. And sometimes it does get a little, might get a little difficult, but we wanted to make sure that we recognize your time here and that we appreciate that you listen to us, and we respect that. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address council?
Mr. Mayor, I think that, just for the record, I think it would be good if Mr. Wood, state what the ordinance, how the, zoning request is now, and that we vote on that. I mean, there's no vote, no action taken, but that was in the first reading and a bunch of other ordinances. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Let me get past this one first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just hold that thought. We are still in the public, general public item. Would any member of the public like to address us at this time? Thank you. Council, do you have any objection to proceeding according to the process that our city council has advised? City attorney, I'm sorry.
Can you have a vote?
I think we'd be appropriate.
Vote is fine, Grace?
That would be fine.
Thank you. That being the case, at this time, please consider this a first reading and introduction for an ordinance that will rezone 107.11 acres from Houston County, R1, and Mr. Wood, correct me if I say it incorrectly, because I'm going to get you to describe it in just a second, to R2, City of Perry, with no commercial at all, and the R2 is limited to single-family residential only. The property is located at the corner of Sandifer Road and Danny Carpenter Drive. Mr. Wood, would you describe the ordinance for us, for the record?
Yes, I believe what we would be, what you would be zoning this as is R2, two-family residential district with the condition that residential uses be limited to single-family residential dwellings only.
Thank you, sir.
Would you define the other provisions that were stated as far as square footage?
That's a requirement of the ordinance, so, already, so that would not need to be, that was provided for information.
Okay.
But I think the stipulation that it be limited to single family, would need to be specifically listed in the ordinance.
I thought there was, adjoining properties are part of the ordinance, so they would have to be reflected.
That's part of the land development ordinance already, so that would be reviewed as part of our, review of the subdivision ordinance.
Very well, thank you.
Council, this is the first reading of this planning of the zoning ordinance. Therefore, no action is required at this time. This is also the first reading and introduction of an ordinance that will rezone. We're going to do rezoning, and then we're going to do an annexation. So the second portion is whichever one I didn't say the first time.
Yes, sir.
And to be honest with you, I don't remember if it was the zoning the first time. This is the annexation of the same property under the same conditions. That's downtown. And because it's a first reading and introduction, no action is required by council at this time. Mr. Walker, did that cover it?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 15 are mayor items. There will be a presentation for Judge George Nunn tomorrow in the Houston County Superior Court at 10 a.m. The state legislature is honoring him for his service as a Superior Court judge. If you are interested, please put that on your calendars. The Robbins Regional Chamber of Commerce is also having their Eggs and Issues breakfast Thursday morning the 4th at 7:45 at the Kerry Martin Center in Warner Robins. I understand that the Houston County delegation in its entirety will be addressing the crowd. If you're interested in hearing what happened in the state legislature from our state delegation, please make sure that you have that on your agendas as well. The Warner Robins Area Transportation Study Committee, or RATS, as it's known, that we participate in, and I didn't mean that derogatorily, is having a meeting 10:30 on Tuesday, May the 9th, on the campus of Central Georgia Technical College in the Sonny Watson Health Sciences Building, and that's open to the public as well. The Warner Robins Area Transportation Study Committee is one of the places where the roads that you see that are improved are discussed, and the long-range planning is made. Representatives from the Georgia Department of Transportation always attend those meetings, and any members of the public who wish to address anyone in there also attends. The other two cities are represented as well as Houston County. It's quite frankly fairly boring, but it's very important, and we do participate as the city of Perry. next regularly scheduled work session for the city of Perry will be Monday, May the 15th at 5 p.m. in this room. The next regularly scheduled pre-council meeting and council meeting will be Tuesday, May the 16th. The pre-council meeting is at 5 o'clock upstairs in the conference room, and the council meeting is at 6 o'clock in this room as we speak. The next walk with mayor and council will be in District 1. District 1 is represented by Ms. Bynum Grace and Mr. King. If you're not familiar, once a month, there are 3 districts in the city of Perry. Each district is represented by 2 council members. We literally walk through each of those neighborhoods, usually take a different route. This time it'll be in District 1. Ms. Bynum Grace and Mr. King will determine a route. It usually lasts about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many people decide to join us or come down the driveways to talk with us. There are no off limits for topics, and it gives the council and myself an opportunity to literally see the town. And we have been doing this for quite some time. It's one thing to drive through any neighborhood or down any street. It's quite again another to walk it. You will see things that you really didn't see before, and it has been a very good communication tool that we have used, and have also used it to address some concerns that we quite frankly didn't know about. Give the opportunity for those people who live in those areas to have to bend our ear on just about any topic. I would encourage your participation. It's the 4th Tuesday of every month. This time it'll be on the 23rd. It'll start at 5:30. It'll be in District 1. I believe that is all I have. If there's nothing else to come before us, thank you for your interest and participation. We stand adjourned.